going out to pick up people with disabilities, taking them to the polls, make sure they have accessible rides to the polls.
This is Zan Thornton. They go by Zan and use gender-neutral pronouns.
I think it's left here.
A disability rights activist, they're working to provide accessible rides for disabled voters in Georgia.
Unless you're like downtown, there's really no reliable public transportation. Okay.
I kept seeing free rides, rides to the polls, and I'd call them and say, do you have an accessible van? And they're like, no. So if you were in a wheelchair, you couldn't get a ride.
A person with limited mobility themselves, Zan organized free rides to the polls for more than 150 people for the 2021 Georgia Senate elections, they said. For the 2022 midterms, they are continuing this work. I followed Zan and their spouse, Elizabeth, as Zan organized voting trips to explore how disabled voters are navigating what some view as both old and new barriers.
For this last primary, I asked several times for accommodations because walking was difficult for me, and they never gave me a place to sit down.
I can let you use my wheelchair so you can use it, go vote, and then we'll swap out.
Oh, it's okay. I want to try to.
Okay.
I want to try.
Okay.
Polls suggest that disabled Americans are more interested in elections than non-disabled Americans. But in general elections, there's been a persistent gap between the turnout rates of the two groups. If this gap were closed, there would be an estimated 1.75 million more votes. For many disabled people, traditional ways of voting do not accommodate their health needs.
I'm going to be wrecked for probably a week or two after all of this.
Jess Gordon has been diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome.
I'm taking tomorrow's energy and the day after's energy in order to do this.
I use a chair for fatigue, but also for the pain issues that I have. I didn't vote for the presidential election. By the time I was ready to vote, my body said no and I couldn't go. I was crying in bed for both pain and fatigue. I felt like I was disappointing the disability community because I'd gotten all these rides out there and I couldn't get myself to go vote. This is how they get a ride. Nice ride. You like it?
Disabled voters also face barriers in the built environment. Research shows particularly low turnout among disabled people who aren't able to drive. What's more, 83% of polling places in 2016 posed potential accessibility barriers, according to the U.S. Government Accountability Office.
There was a time when I went to my voting place, not so long ago, and unbelievably enough, a wheelchair couldn't get in up a curb.
And last year, those roadblocks seem to increase and get even higher with a new law, SB 202.
To make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. The bill I signed into law does just that.
SB 202 aims to counter voter fraud, its proponents say. But last year, 3 disability rights groups joined a lawsuit against it, saying it makes voting inaccessible.
That SB 202 makes it a crime to give people in lines beverage or snack could be very detrimental to the health of a person with a disability. In areas of lower socioeconomic status, those lines are even longer.
We're trying to get you guys in. We're short over here, we're short over there. We're just doing the best we can because we don't have everybody that we need to help you all.
I want a nap, but I'll be here for a while.
That's usually what happens when I'm tired.
SB 202 also places drop boxes inside polling places, while they used to be outside.
Someone cannot just drive by or roll by a drop box. You have to park, you have to roll in during the hours that that building is open.
Yeah, this woman with a walker just came in to drop her, and it took her so much more effort to walk inside.
Right, and then she had to wait. All that.
Disability activists in Georgia say there needs to be law that expands the times when disabled voters can go to the front of the line and educates poll workers on accommodations. For those who choose to vote by mail, SB 202 has shortened the time frame for applying and returning the ballot and added new steps in voter verification.
I have been encouraging people with disabilities to turn in their absentee ballot early because they may need more assistance and time in reviewing the absentee ballot and ensuring that their information is correct.
For this election, Zan is working with volunteer drivers around Georgia to give out rides. By the beginning of November, they had helped more than 50 people, Zan said, and they hope to reach 100 by Election Day.
If you had to count on my energy, I don't think we can get to 200, not even to 100, but I have great helpers who can get out more often than I, and so it's just working through community, and that's kind of what the disability community is working together.
I always feel very patriotic when I vote, more patriotic than at any other time. We are determined to vote. We'll go out of our way.